Good morning. I'm Suzy Vance from Creating from the Heart, the Artistry of Living, and I'm here with Harry Holtkamp, Harrison Holtkamp, who runs the Interfaith Communities PADS. PADS.
Pads.
What are PADS, Harry?
Well, pads are two things. So pads are what they sleep on, number one, but that's not the name. The name is an acronym that stands for Public Action to Deliver Shelters.
So you're in the business of helping the homeless find a place.
We are the only shelter for men and single women in LaPorte County. There are other places that do take single women. We're the only permanent shelter for single women.
My goodness.
And LaPorte County is the second largest county in the state of Indiana.
So, did you think you would be doing this when you were a kid?
No, not at all. Not at all.
What did you want to be doing?
You know, I'm not sure what I wanted to be doing. I was always the good Boy Scout. I was always the good Catholic boy. I was always the one who did the right thing and marched to my own drummer and such.
Didn't get tired of it, apparently.
I don't know any different. I don't know any different. This is how I was raised, to help people.
So tell us how you got into this.
So in 2001, I was volunteering with some friends, passing out Thanksgiving turkeys and talking with those friends. I asked what their husband was doing at the time, and he was going to start that week volunteering at the men's shelter that was starting on Friday night. And I said, well, I'd like to do that. That'd be fun. So I started volunteering then and to meet some people, to just help out the community and what so. And as the years went on, I progressed through. And about 2 years later, maybe 3 years afterwards, I was able to manage my own site.
I can just imagine. I mean, if you are saying yes, they're saying, okay, how about this? Okay, how about that?
So, there's always a need. There's always a need. And when you're running on nothing but volunteers, you take what you can get and you run with it and you ask for more. And that's just the nature of volunteering. But there was a time once I took over my own site on Tuesday nights and was able to get to their church involved fully to where they took over all the volunteer duties and the donation duties. I was able to hand it over. So I went to the board to go hand it over. And Ed Marion, who was in charge at the time, said, great, we're so glad you got that taken care of. Now you get 2 nights. And so I went to
another
one
locations.
night to 2 nights for 2 locations. Yeah. And that's led on to years and years of adding more sites, more nights, adding more duties and such. And in 2016, they asked me to become interim director. And all of this while I was working a full-time day job.
And as I understand it, you didn't go home and have a discussion about whether you could do this. You just said yes.
So the downside with following your heart is sometimes you should ask other people what they think about it, especially your wife and your boss and things like this. But I just ran with it and said, if I'm not going to be able to do this, will it really continue? And not that I had all the ideas and all the thoughts for it, but I just wanted to make sure that it was still continuing because I knew the need in the community.
Well, and I suspect your wife knew you.
She did. My wife is great.
May have been nervous, but she knew you were following your heart.
You know what? And she comes and volunteers at the shelter 5-6 nights a week. She is always there. And she loves being on the men's floor because it's more populated. She gets to see more people, gets to interact. She really likes doing it. And I told her, well, what happens when we get enough volunteers to take over these evenings? She's like, well, we've got to be doing something and we have to continue to help the community.
Yes. So you did this all for the men's shelters and then?
So once I became interim director, we were missing some pieces. So we were a volunteer grassroots organization, but we were not a 501c3, not a registered non-for-profit through the federal government or the state of Indiana. So we became that. So we applied through the states and then applied through the feds. We got a 501c3 designation. And at that point, we knew we had to help out the whole family. We knew we had to create a women's shelter.
Thank you for taking care of the women.
They needed to be done. Truthfully, How could we sleep at night knowing that we're only taking care of one sex or one part of a family or something like that, where other people are still sleeping in places they shouldn't be sleeping?
You said that sometimes the women would sleep in the car because they couldn't come into the men's shelter.
Many times the guys would drive up, they would be able to stay at the shelter, but the women would stay in the vehicle. Sometimes children also would stay in the vehicle. So we would take them out blankets, we would take them out food, we do what we can, but we couldn't mix sexes at the time. There just wasn't room in the sites.
So now
we created a women's shelter, and again, at that time, we traveled from church to church to church. So every night, we went from one church to two churches, and then the next night, and then the next night, and everything we would take from one site to the next church and to the next church. All the donations that came in, we'd have to transfer to the next one just so we could use it up properly. It was a logistical nightmare. It really was. It was terrible. I mean, it worked, and it was wonderful for the people, but it was a nightmare for volunteers.
it was
a
a
nightmare
lot to deliver.
for guests. They had to understand a schedule that meant every night was a different church, so they had to get that schedule down. The people bringing in individuals, like the police departments and the hospitals and such, they had to understand that schedule.
And the volunteers had to know where to show up.
Absolutely. So it was a tough one, and we got through it. We did that for 18 years. 18 years. But in 2017, we started conversations with Father Kevin from Queen of All Saints, who was explaining that Sacred Heart Church was going to be closing, and that the building could be available if we petitioned correctly. So the day after, that's correctly. It has to be done right. If things aren't done right, you lose all opportunity. If you're looking for dollars from an organization, if you don't write a correct grant, you lose the opportunity. Everything has to be explained properly. So we petitioned the church. We went there. I brought the right people with me. I brought 2 lawyers and a nun, and myself, and we went and visited the diocese office, petitioned them, and we followed through with everything that they wanted. We got zoning through the city, and we got our own building.
That's great.
It was wonderful. And then we had to raise funds. We had to raise $400,000.
Oh my gosh.
So
it wasn't insurmountable?
We raised $400,000 in 5 months. And we were able to start.
Your angels are with you, man.
We try to do the right things. That's all I can say. I mean, we have great people behind us. We have great donors and people who really understand our mission. But we do try to do the right things.
What is your mission?
So our mission is to help and feed the house and feed the homeless of LaPorte County, and do it with dignity. Yeah.
Great.
So that's all that we want to do. And so now we have a viable year-round program for men, women, and women with children in one location nightly. A safe, warm, comfortable atmosphere where they get fed 2 meals daily and they're out of the elements. And we also connect them with services to help them get over the barriers that led them to where they're at.
Yeah, right.
And that's huge. So we can say that we started the not-for-profit. That was a big thing. That we started the women's program. Another great thing. We got our own building. A great thing. But the best thing we ever did was find a way to connect our individuals, our guests, I like to call them, with connective services. So they have case management. So they can see therapists and doctors, and they have chances to build their resume and to address everything that's keeping them down or that has brought them to the place that they're at.
Awesome.
And we do this daily. And it's
That's
great. It's
amazing.
Great. Yeah.
That is amazing. So do you have one favorite story that you could tell me? I know you have many.
I have lots of stories, but but my favorite story to tell is creating the women's shelter. And so we worked really, really hard for about 7 months to get this up and running. And our very first night, it was all hands on deck. We're ready to go, and no one shows up. Nobody shows up. And I go home and I'm thinking, what did I do? We spun our wheels. We did all this stuff to make it happen, and no one's here. The next night is another day. So let's start another day. So the second night, 5:30 rolls around. It's time to open the doors, and the bus pulls up in front of our building, and a mom and a child walk off the bus, and they come to the shelter because they found out we were there, and we start making it happen.
It's just, that's such a wonderful story because it's just word of mouth.
Absolutely. And sometimes if you build it, they will come. And I totally understand that. It takes a little bit. It takes a lot of nerve and courage to show up to a place that's going to be offering you housing or offering you anything free. It's just not in our nature to have our hands out and expect everything for free. So people do come in with their head down and such. Those people who come in like that, I have no worries for them whatsoever, because I know that as distraught as they are walking in the door, they're going to work just as hard to get out of that situation.
Right.
There are sometimes people walk in the door they feel entitled, and those are going to be the harder cases. You have that.
So what's next?
So right now we're working on a phase 2 project. We're just about ready to close it. Phase 2 is to replace the windows and the doors in Sacred Heart Church. And that's probably a $72,000 project. We were able to get a $25,000 grant from Healthcare Foundation of LaPorte, and they did a community match on that. The community came together wonderfully, and we're ready. We have the windows ordered. We ordered them last week, and today, actually, they're installing the new front doors. So, yeah, we have all of that going on, and the next phase would be painting the building inside, making it more accommodatable, bringing in some case managers and things like that, so we can have in-house help as well as farming it out to other agencies.
So how can somebody help?
Oh my gosh, they can go to our website. They can go to our Facebook
And
page.
your website is?
My website is interfaithcommunitypads.com. My email, you can email me directly at director@interfaithcommunitypads.com. You can call my phone, which is 219-276-7582. I always answer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Well, thank you, Harry.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been so nice. Thank you.
Creating from the heart, the artistry of living. I'm here with this wonderful artist. Stay tuned. See you next time.